Okay, cool. So hi, everyone. My name's Shaan Mistry, solution engineer at Ultrix. So today, we're going to talk about something which is kind of close to my heart. In my role at Ultrix, I get to kind of travel all over the world, working with many different customers, talking to them about how Ultrix can help them. So today, we're going to talk about disrupting the disconnect in enterprise analytics. So firstly, I want to talk something very quickly on barriers. Barriers really are there designed to keep people out and to keep people in. Essentially, what are they really good for? Not much. You know, they block us off, they section us off, and if society has taught us anything in our day-to-day lives, walls and barriers don't really work. So what actually happens when we reach a barrier? We might attempt to get over it, we might try and break it down, or we might see if we can go around it. Now, the reality is that if you try and get over it, it might be a little bit too high. If we try and break it down, the barrier or the strength required to break the barrier might be too great. And if you try and circumvent it, you might fail because it takes too long. And in reality, some people say that when you get to a barrier, it's like just banging your head against that wall. So just pause for a second. Just have a think about your day-to-day roles, the companies you work for, the companies you may have worked for in the past. What are some of the barriers and blockers that you experience? Maybe it's in your kind of day-to-day role. Maybe there's certain challenges and barriers that are in place. Maybe it's something that you have within your team. Maybe it's you have as a business globally, or maybe it's a reason why you left one company and went to another. So I would break it down into these four different areas. We have data, we have IT, we have the analyst, and we have the data scientist. So one of the things that data is always there, but not everyone can see it, not everyone can view it, not everyone can access it. IT are there. Now, sometimes IT always gets a bad reputation. You know, they're seen as the blockers, the gatekeepers, people that are controlling access. In reality, they're just doing their jobs. You know, at the end of the day, they're there to secure the environment, make sure that the data is controlled, because the last thing they want is another security or data breach. The analyst is there with whatever skills that they're bringing to the table. They're trying to do their job. Whatever data they see, they're trying to make heads or tails of it. They might not be the most technical set of users, then they might not be coders or scripters, but they face their own challenges, even within their team. And then you have data scientists. Data scientists are there building their models, but a lot of with what they create never really makes it elsewhere in the business. So again, we've got these kind of four separate areas, all within their barriers firmly in place. Now, all of these areas are somewhat completely siloed, working independently. They're almost working in the shadows of one another. So let's have a look at the chaos that this could cause. 30% of the time, analysts, users within the business, they're actually just searching for data. Once they find something, they can't guarantee that it's even meaningful. The data that they tend to work with in their projects might be coming from many different areas. Some of it could be structured, some of it unstructured, semi-structured. Now, there could be several different sources, but do they have the skill set in order to make full use of them? Now, in terms of time and effort, there's a vast amount of money and time being spent on taking repetitive manual processes and doing it over and over and over again. And even from a data science perspective, 80% of the models are only ever really partially deployed. So let's start to have a look at some of the interactions. And again, in my kind of personal view, these are some of the interactions that I've seen with some of the customers and past customers that we've tended to work with. So let's start to look at IT and the analyst. In terms of the analyst, they're trying to build their kind of day-to-day processes in place, but they're trying to access data. They need the data in order to do their day-to-day work. Their colleagues want to also reuse the same data. They want to build something and share it with other people within their business. Now, the skill set that a typical analyst may have might not be that of a coding or scripting-based user. Now, the tools that they're using to do this and the technologies they're using might not be chosen by them. So they're having to make do the best they can. Now, this could go round and round, but essentially, they might leverage another team to help them. And they're going to come to IT. So they're going to put requests into IT saying, I need access to this particular data source, or I'm looking to share this with another set of users. IT are like, hey, hang on, we can do that, but we need to do X, Y, and Z first. Now, the analyst might say, oh, I've come across some bit of software. I think this might work for me better. Can I install it? IT might say, well, no, it's not on our list of approved vendors, or someone senior in the business have already agreed the technology that they should be using. So already it's been dictated to them what technology they have to be using. And this doesn't always work. So again, IT put up their barrier, the analyst in turn put up their own barrier, and sometimes we've seen that the analysts try and circumvent IT altogether, and they go rogue and they try and install software that IT hasn't approved, only for IT to find out, and that's a different story. Now, if we have a look at some of the other interactions, we have IT and the data scientist. The data scientists are happily there building their models. They might be using R, they might be using Python. Essentially, once the models are actually built, they then throw it over the wall, and they then give it to IT or DevOps or another kind of integration team. The thing is, IT and DevOps, they've got a lot on their plate. Now, what they don't want to then have to do is take a model from the data science team and then say, you know what, this is going to take a while. I'm now going to have to rewrite this for the integration using things like Java, C++, or PHP, and it's going to take time. While all of this is going on, the data scientists are getting annoyed. They're then saying, well, come on, guys, I sent this 2-3 months ago. It's still not being deployed in the business. And to be fair, that model that I actually created, it's now out of date. And this is some of the realities that we're facing. And the final part, the final grudge match, might be the analyst and the data scientist. So the data scientist and the analyst, the biggest barrier here is language. To an analyst, if you start saying to them things like R and Python, they're going to think, what are you talking about? Are you talking about pirates and snakes? So part of the analyst's work is to rely on the models that the data scientist creates for them. The analyst that can then reuse them within their day-to-day work. Now, the data scientist, because of their previous challenges, they're then saying, well, it's a problem with IT. So, Mr. Analyst, Mrs. Analyst user, please go to IT and help them actually push that model through to make it into your business apps. So this becomes a vicious cycle for all parties, but the barriers are then firmly in place. So this is something that I'm coining my mystery Venn of needs. What are the real needs amongst all of these parties? Essentially, you've got the analyst. The analyst's real need here is to connect to data. Once they've connected to the data, they can start to build up some of their processes, and then once they've built up their processes, they can then start to collaborate with other members of their team. Once they've built this, and again, maybe they're having to do some type of manual process over and over, so they're now looking to actually automate the work they're doing. The data scientists, the same again. Part of this is connecting to data, part of this is automating, but then it's all about productionizing the models that they've built and actually getting them into the business before they expire. Now, IT, the reality is IT are just trying to create a secure environment. They don't want to be in the news for some type of data breach. They want to build something that is actually secure, but also scalable. They want to make sure that it meets the needs of the business going forward, and obviously at a good price, which is within budget. Now, when I was going through this, I actually started to find there's actually kind of 3 other kind of barriers in play here. We're talking about the technology stack, the language, and the skill. Now, for those kind of users we've been talking about, it's not always their fault. The technology stack could be decided further up the chain. Again, maybe it's because as a business, they've already bought in elsewhere, or they got a good deal. Now, the problem with the technology stack is that the language being adopted by the stack might be very code or script heavy. So it might not be code friendly, and it might not be code free. And that in turn leads to the skill, because the learning curve and the skill required to actually use these technologies and the languages required means that it just puts people off altogether, which in turn means that their barriers go all the way up. So let's look at a typical disconnected culture stack. Again, looking at this, you can see various different technologies in place across many different teams. And this is something that I've seen kind of the world over, because you could have a business, an enterprise level business, which has the same department in many different regions. And even within that same enterprise business, they're using, for the same task, they're using a completely different technology, which means that if I was to build something in this particular region and share it with another, it's not reusable. So again, we end up in this scenario where the work we're doing is not reusable. So how do we look at removing these barriers? What should we actually be looking for? Well, the first thing is we want to have something which makes it easy for all of the users to actually discover what it is that they're actually searching for. Once we've found what we're searching for, we want to be able to document and actually create that information and put it into a single place. That means that within the business, within the region, within the team, that information is available to all. And if you don't have access to it, well, you can request it, but it's done so in a seamless way. Once you start to build up these kind of flows and actually build up some of these processes, the main thing is to be able to leverage the skills that you as a user have. So being able to take something that you're building out, which is code-free, but also code-friendly if you have those skills. And also being able to then share it with other users and for them to understand it. Now for IT, it's all about being able to then take what's already been built. They can assist with the automation, but also they're kind of scaling and governing this. So it doesn't matter whether the platform is on-premise, it doesn't matter if the platform is in the cloud, the same security protocols and the same access can be granted, or in this case not granted, using role-based permissions. And then finally, we can actually start to find a way to actually build models and actually get them deployed, regardless of the language used, and also integrate it and actually get them into production quicker and faster. So the idea here is to create a barrier-free platform, a single pane of glass where there's no barriers. Everyone's using the same technology, everyone's talking the same language, and it doesn't matter whether you have certain skills or not. In my view, this is how it could look. You've got a single platform where you can discover and collaborate with your colleagues. You can build your end-to-end processes and actually start to share them with other users and other non-technical users. And again, you can actually take the models and deploy them in a centralized way and actually get them into production a lot faster. But the whole thing wouldn't be possible unless you wrap this around some type of community, a community that will foster a data-driven analytical community. So in my kind of search, I found some kind of research from Krinsky and Hetrick. They talk about kind of some of the old practices and some of the new practices. What I've done is just cherry pick kind of some of the 7 most vital kind of practices that I've seen. And again, they talk around this kind of community effort, being able to share what you've built, making sure that things become certified so you know which is a single view of the truth, and then actually driving widespread adoption. So in terms of disrupting the disconnect, we want to all be able to work together, use a single platform, which is going to become easy to use, and the learning curve is not that high, something that becomes extensible and repeatable. So you can actually leverage other technologies. So maybe you're trying to bring in SDKs and APIs into your day-to-day work. But the most important part here is we want to disrupt the disconnect and actually start to break the barriers. So thank you, everyone. Again, it's kind of a whistle-stop tour into some of my insights, but also into that of my colleagues as well. So we are going to open up for some questions, but I just wanted to let you know that we have got a stand on E4, I believe. We are going to be doing a few kind of hands-on demonstrations in the next hour as well. So if you are around, come over to the Ultrix booth. But yeah, we can open it up for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Shaan.